That right there is a kitten that is like, yo, there's no treats on either of those books. Why should I choose any of them? Last month I attempted reading 18 books. This month I'm going to attempt reading 24 books. Do I think I'm going to read all of those 24 books? For those that are new to my channel and do not know how this works, I usually offer two options for my kitten to choose. He picks a book, I read the book, I talk about it in my wrap-up, or if I decide to do a reading vlog. That's how it's done. This month I'm participating in 4 readathons though. So I'm participating in the SFF-athon, I'm participating in Fortnight Frights, I'm participating in blackoweenathon, and I'm also participating in the Nekkid readathon. So like, yeah, my Readathon card is booked. But as always, we will start off with my Patreon picks. For those that do not know, I do have a Patreon. If you're interested in supporting me or my channel, the link as always is always going to be in my description bar. So I have a Patreon, and every month my patrons pick 6 books that my kitten then narrows down to 3, and I try and read those 3 books in the month. Last month I actually read 1.5 of the books. I'm going to actually complete one of those books this month, but I did not put it in this TBR because you already know that book, and then I'm going to carry the 3rd book into another month. So not to worry, every single book that my patrons pick for me, I would always try my best to read. But yeah, so let us look at my Patreon picks. Just a quick note that you're going to see Compop with a cone around his head. Do not be worried. I decided to be a responsible cat mom, and I had him neutered, and he's meant to have the cone on for 4 weeks so that he does not pull out his stitches. It's been over 3 weeks now, so he should be getting that off in the next couple of days. I'm certain by the next video where you see him, it would be cone free. Come up. There you go. There you go. Finally! If you watched my TBR last month, you'll know how much I was desperately begging my cat to pick the 5th season, but he didn't, and now this month he picked it up.
God is real.
This is an N.K. Jemisin novel that I know so many of my friends have read and loved, and I'm just like, I want to feel that emotion. In this, we follow a character who gets home one day, discovers that her husband has murdered their son and has kidnapped their daughter, and so she sets out after her husband at a time when the world is coming to an end and there seems to be a great battle on the horizon. That is all I know about this book, because apparently this is a very confusing book that does not start to make sense until the later part of the book. So once I heard that, I'm like, oh, this fits my brand of wanting to know as little as possible about a book before I read it, so it works for me. But anyway, to everybody that was praying that this is the month when Compop picks 5th season, this is the month when Noria reads 5th season, this is the time when Noria gets into the Broken Earth trilogy, all our collective prayers have been answered. Compop, here you go. Make a choice. Yeah! Shadow Shaper by Daniel Jose Older. This is a book I've had on my TBR for the last 2 years, for more than 2 years, and I've been wanting to read it. And now I have to, because like my cat always gives me the eye, the evil eye. I always have to do like the sign to word of evil when it gives me that glare, when it's like, yo, why are you reading a book that is not on the books I chose? You pulled me out of nap time to pick books. Read the goddamn books. So I try my best to read the books he picked, and I hope this is one of the books I read this one, because I want to read this book. In this, we follow Sierra. She's an artist living in New York, and then she discovers that, oh, she is a shadow shaper in the sense that she has the ability to infuse spirits, as ancestral spirits, into art, and it's a cool power. But then she also discovers that there's a serial killer who has been killing the shadow shaper one by one and is coming after her. So yes, there is going to be mystery. I can't wait to read this. I wanted to read this. Sierra is Afro-Latinx. This is a bomb-ass book, and this is a bomb-ass cover. God damn. Compop really is picking great picks this month, isn't it? This is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motha. I am ready for this because apparently this book is very gay. This book is very gay, and it has spies. So there are very gay spies in this book, and it apparently has time travel as well. I'm like, this time travel is gay as fuck. There are spies. Now moving on to the readathons part of my TBR. this TBR video. The first readathon I'll be participating in is the Black SFF-athon, which I already did my announcement video because I am one of the co-hosts for this amazing readathon. It's basically this opportunity for us to read Black speculative fiction in October, and it's going to run from the 18th of October all the way to the 31st with the live show on the 1st of November. And I have amazing co-hosts like Chloe of Tissel and Verse is the brains behind it and the co-host. And Jerry over at Onyx Pages is another co-host. Lucy of Lucy Reads is another co-host, and finally there's Arlene of Lock Press Books, where like I'm really excited, Joel. I'm really excited. And the very first prompt was for us to pick a book with an LGBTQ plus main character, and the book I chose for this is actually Fifth Season by N.K. Jemisin, because I've heard that this book is very gay. I don't know how gay it is because I've not read the book, so I can't say, but I heard this book is very gay.
Fingers crossed.
The next prompt is for us to pick a book that has a social justice at its core, so it's social justice oriented.
There you go.
Everfair by Nisi Shaw won this cover. Look at this cover. I've had this book on my shelf because this cover is gorgeous and I've been wanting to read it, and oh my god, I hope this is the month I read it, because imagine being able to read this in Black Speculative Fiction Month. Like, goals. But anyway, Nisi Shaw gives us a story, y'all, and they tell this story of this. It's an alternate historical novel that basically explores the question of what if it is that the Congo was never colonized by the Belgians, and in fact they got steam technology first. So it's Victorian, it's alternate reality, it's alternate history, it's steampunk heavy, and apparently they come together to build this utopian society called Everfair, and you get different people, you get people from different countries, you get abolitionists, you get freed slaves, you get people from other African countries, everybody coming together to build this utopian of a society called Everfair. I have wanted to read this since like forever. I've heard that this is show, like their writing is phenomenal.
I'm so excited.
So the third prompt is for us to read a book with God as characters within the book.
Come pop. Come pop. Come pop. Can you see that? Okay. Which one do you want first? Pick one. Pick one.
The Half-God of Rainfall by Inua Elams, which this book one, it's pretty short, but I've wanted to read this since I bought this. I bought this for one of my book club, but we never had that meeting, so I never got the chance to read it, and I'm happy that Compop chose this, because see, I think this centers a demigod, because you have a boy who every time it is that he weeps, right, the rivers respond and they burst to overflowing, and when he's angry the rain clouds gather. So obviously is a demigod walking amongst mortal, and every time it is that, you know, he plays on the basketball court, the gods of the land, they take notice, and his mother knows all this and she's afraid for him, and she also knows that the god's interest in human affairs is very fickle, and she knows that a tiny little change, a subtle change, and her son will be in danger. And when that happens, it's the women in his lives that would go to bat and fight for him. This book has me intrigued, and I've been wanting to read it ever since I got it, and now Compop has proven once again that is like one. I know there are a lot of books on your TBR and a lot of readathon, so I'm going to pick something very small and very tiny that you can quickly get through, and I'm like,
He gets me.
The next prompt is for us to read a horror book, which I know what book I want Compop to choose, but something tells me he's not going to choose it, is he?
Hey baby, there you go. There you go. Stretch. Help me make a choice.
I was right. He did not choose it. Instead, he chose The Ballad of Black Thumb by Victor Lavelle, which I don't feel salty about, because I have wanted to read this book. And I think this is a spin on Edgar Allan Poe. I'm not sure. I have to confirm. But basically, in this we follow Charles Tester, who is employed to deliver a tome to a sorceress, and unfortunately opens a door into a deeper realm of magic. And now the things that nobody wants their attention have their eyes on him. The next prompt, we're meant to pick a book that is not set on Earth.
Come pop. There you go. Binti Binti?
I should have known Compub was still going to choose Binti. I think there's something about this cover that attracts him, because for the last 3 months, it's always gone on Heronly to go pick Binti. So I'm going to be reading Binti the Night Masquerade, and I have no idea what's happened in that book. This is the book that I want, like this entire trilogy. I only knew the barest minimum, which is that, oh, Binti is on his shuttle and going to start a new life in a new university, and boom, they're attacked by aliens. That is all. All the rest of the novellas have been discovering them as I read them and falling in love, and this is not going to be any exception, but this is going to be the last of it. So I wonder what Compub will choose next month, now that I cannot go for his default Binti anymore.
What you gonna do?
Next, we're meant to read the book whose author is not from the US or Canada, and thankfully we can combine prompts. So of course I'm going to go with the Half-God of Rainfall, because Inua Elams is Nigerian, so it is definitely not US or Canada, so that works. The next prompt is for us to read the group book, which is The Jumbies by Tracy Baptiste. It has Caribbean folklore. You have a young girl who basically has to find the courage within herself to save her world, because it turns out that the Jumbies, which she always thought were just mythical tales used to frighten children at night, they actually exist, and they are over here about to take over her world.
My body is ready.
I have heard great things about the Jumbies, and like Black SFF Announcement, y'all. If you're not ready,
what are you waiting for?
And finally, the last prompt for the Black SFF-a-thon is for us to read a book that centers love in any iteration. And so I'm going to go with the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, because it is the love for her daughter that actually sets up this entire story. A mother goes in search for her missing daughter, just as she also, I think she's going to avenge her dead son. I don't know, but a mother's love is a core of this, so it works.
You can't touch this.
So let me just quickly show you the body reads I'm going to be, like, books I'm body reading with my friends this month, because I also have a lot of body reads, like, oh my god. Starting with Jade City by Fonda Lee. This is the book my patrons chose for us all to body read, so we are all body reading this together in October. It's because of them I bought this book. I have wanted to read this, and I've wanted to buy it since like forever, and they gave me the final push.
This is Sparta!
All I know about this is that there is magic, there is mafia, there is a war, and there's a bad boy who would wreck me. And I'm like, I want to be wrecked. So that's all I needed to know. I'm perfectly fine. Next, I'm body reading Empire of Gold by S.H. Chakraborty. Finally, this is the 3rd book in the Devabad trilogy. I've been wanting to read this ever since it arrived, but I've been waiting for a perfect time, because I'm meant to body read this with Sarah over at Novel Serendipity. Yes, y'all, I've been body reading with Sarah practically every month since February last year. So with Sarah over at Novel Serendipity and Lauren over at the Novel Lush, we've been body reading the Devabad trilogy together since City of Brass. Actually, no, since Kingdom of Copper. And Lauren wasn't feeling too well, so we put off reading Empire of Gold until she was feeling better. Now she is, and we cannot wait to read this. I'm not going to talk about the synopsis of this book, because even the synopsis is a spoiler for Kingdom of Copper, so I'll just say I am reading this month, and I cannot wait. Also, I have a lot of thick books.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
Next, I'm reading One to Watch with Cindy over at Read with Cindy and Mina over at Mina Reads. I know that it's this plus size woman who basically watches this show, this dating show, and she's all like, yo, please. It's basically, you know, the stereotypical thing that we see in dating shows. They're always the same race, it's always the same body weight, so they're always very skinny, probably very blonde, probably very white, also probably very straight. And she criticized the show, and now she gets the chance to come on, and she's like, okay, fine, because I'm going in so that I can be wooed, be wild, definitely not falling in love. I just want to have a great time. And we know when people say this, that's when they fall in love.
I mean, facts are facts.
I'm also body reading The Beautiful by Renee Adier with Sarah over at Novel Serendipity. Sarah has already started this book. In fact, she's already halfway through the book. She's on like page 200 and something. I'm like, yo! So your girl is behind. I need to like chop and start reading it pronto. I cannot wait. This has vampires in New Orleans. You have a girl who's trying to solve a mystery. There's a serial killer loose. I am ready. Like, it fits in. It's fitting for me to read this for Halloween. Also, look at that. Can you see all the tabs? We have a tab based on chapters. I have not started reading this book, but I intend to start ASAP so that I can catch up very, very soon, Sarah. I promise. I will be all caught up soon. I promise. And finally, the last book I'm body reading in October is Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. Thankfully, this is one of the smaller ones. I'm very happy about that. I'm body reading this with Ali over at Back Order. I cannot wait. I am really excited. You have Noemi, who is this debutante society girl, and when her cousin writes to her and she's like, oh, she's terrified. She goes to her cousin's house to help her solve the mystery and to help protect her, and then finds like things are not the same. She does not trust her father, our cousin's father-in-law, definitely doesn't trust the husband, and also the house seems to be sending her images and visions of death and destruction like every night, and she's like, what the fuck? I'm over here like with Noemi, I'm like, what the fuck? I am intrigued. I've heard so many great things. Also, this cover is gorgeous, and Silvia Moreno Garcia wrote Gods of Jade and Shadow, which I enjoyed immensely, so I am ready for her to wreck me with Mexican Gothic.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next readathon I will be participating in, which is blackoweenathon, which runs all the way from October 1st to October 31st. And this is, of course, hosted by the amazing Bree over at Locked Booktician. Like, Bree has some fantastic, amazing prompts. The first prompt, she said, a fantasy novel by a black author, for which I actually did go with 5th season because of course, I'm going to cross-pollinate books. I'm reading 25 books this month, y'all.
Send help at once.
Then we're meant to read a book by a black, trans, queer, or non-binary author, and so I'm going with Everfair by Nisi Shaw. Nisi Shaw is non-binary, so they would fit perfectly well for that prompt for me. I'm not doing all the prompts because I cannot do all of that. I'm only one person and I only have 2 eyes and 2 ears, you know, and 2 hands. I can't do multiple things. I want brain, so I can't do all the prompts, which is sad. The next prompt I am going to be working with is the prompt where she says we're to read a mystery book by a black author. Now, this is one of the books I was meant to read in September that I'm carrying over in October, so Compop doesn't need to make any decisions on that. I'm going to be reading Legend Born by Tracy Dion, which is a Arthurian retelling. You have a young girl whose mother was murdered and who has been looking forward to leaving the society, the environment, the community where she grew up, and she gets this chance to go to this elite school. But on her first night in this elite school, she notices a demon sucking the soul out of a student, and when there comes this legend-born guy to try and wipe her memory, and it fails at that, but what instead happens is that it unlocks a memory for her, and she realizes that on the night her mother died, there was a legend born there. So she figures out that her mother's death was not ordinary, and of course she teams up with this other guy who also has something against legend bonds to try and bring down the system, only for them to discover that there's a war coming, and the legend bonds, who are descendants of King Arthur's knights, are the only ones that will stand in that battle, and it's up to her to decide if she's going to fight with them. Now, there's a mystery of who killed her mother, what happened, why was her mother killed, etc. that runs all the way through the book, so that would fit for that.
Perfecto.
The next prompt I'm also looking at is the prompt where we're meant to read a historical novel, and I think that sure, it's alternate reality, but Everfair would still work for that, so it works for me. Next prompt, we're meant to read a thriller book, and this is once again a carryover from a book I wanted to read in September and I never got around to reading, and that is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. It's her first thriller novel. Basically talks about this gentrification of this neighborhood and this girl who thinks that all her neighbors are leaving, but when she discovers that her neighbors are technically not living and there's something else going on, it becomes a matter of life and death. I live for thrillers. It's also October. It's perfect. I want to be creeped out.
Spooky.
Next prompt is a book that discusses intersectionality by a black author, and I cannot believe I have to say this, but God, Compop, please choose an Unkindness of Ghosts, please.
Compop. It's a pity that you are insisting on not picking any River Solomon though. Like,
what did they ever do to you? What did they do to you? As much as I absolutely adore and I am happy that Compop chose the death of Vivek Oji, because this is going to be my second Akweke. You already know how much I love Freshwater. I absolutely love their writing. There's just this way in which it just reaches into my soul and like runs claws down my innards and leaves me bleeding and gapping and praying for help. Like, that is what Akweke's writing does to me, and that is what their stories do to me. So I know that I'm going to get that with Vivek, because this is already a tragedy. We already know that Vivek is going to die. The question is, how do we get to that point? Because see, Vivek is a person who exists outside of what Nigerian society will consider normal, other than the blackouts and the companies that they keep, etc., etc. And the only place in which they found acceptance is amongst the wives of like people that had married white men, because they are more socially accepting, also because they are not conditioned, you know, to fit into what Nigerians expect to be normal. So there's always that intersectionality of gender and queerness that Akweke always explores in their books, and I know that they would have brought it on in this as well, which is why I'm picking it for intersectionality, because we definitely need more books that center the intersectional Nigerian experience. So I'm ready for this. I'm just why would you not pick an Unkindness of Ghosts, Compop? Tell me why. Now the penultimate prompts that I am going to be picking from Black OweenAthon is read a book that includes a black witch.
Seriously?
Compop has proven once again that is like one. I know there are a lot of books on your TBR and a lot of Readathon, so I'm going to pick something very small and very tiny that you can quickly get through. And I'm like, that cat knows me, that cat loves me. I was really hoping Compop was going to pick Sunny and the Mystery of OCC. One, because the book is way smaller, and two, because I've already read the first book, which is What Sunny Sun in Flames. For those that do not know, that is an alternate title here in Nigeria. You probably know those books best as Akata Witch and Akata Warrior. So I was hoping it was going to pick Akata Warrior, but my cat, of course, my cat lives for torturing me. You would think that a cat that knew to pick the slimmest book possible would extend me that courtesy, but no. Look at this. Look at, isn't this chunky? Isn't this chunky? But anyway, I heard that there's a witch in there. Basically, turns out that she goes to the city and discovers that she's some heir to the throne, and there's magic, and I think she's a witch. Fingers crossed. The last Black Oween prompt I'm going to go with is the one that says that we should read a book by an underrated author, and I definitely think Inua Elams is underrated. Like, how many people on BookTube know Inua Elams? Like, I'm setting practically 0, so this is as underrated as I get, period. Moving on to the third readathon, which is Fortnight Frights, which is going to run all the way from October 18th to 31st. This is hosted by Seji over at Artisan Geek. Now, here's what I decided to do. I am like, for the next two readathons, I'm actually going to randomly like pick books that I want to read, because it's clear that my cat is biased about certain books and I want to read certain books. The first prompt is we're meant to read the book with an undead character, and for that I am going to go with Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, because yes! So you have a young boy, a trans boy, whose family refuses to accept his gender, and so he sets out to prove that he's a brujo by summoning the spirit of his cousin in order to show his family, except for the fact that the spirit he ends up summoning is not that of his cousin, it's that of the bad boy in school, Julian Diaz. And Julian is like, yo, thank you so much for summoning me, Yadriel. Okay, here's what we're gonna do. You're going to help me find out who my killer is. And I'm like, ooh, we love this, we love this. Also, it's going to be gay. It's going to be so gay, and I'm crying because
sweet dreams are made of these.
Next prompt is for us to read the book with a disabled character or by a disabled author. And I know Compop was thinking it was all smart by not picking this book, but nah, Kitten, you lie. You lie! Because I am going to be reading An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. Now, Asta, the lead character, is on the spectrum, so it would fit in that prompt. But also, like, I am ready for it. This would also work for LGBTQ plus main character for the SFF-athon. If I find out that 5th season does not have a main character who is LGBTQ plus, because Asta is also queer. But anyway, I'm really happy about this. This takes place in space, and you have Asta living on a ship that has been modeled to resemble the antebellum South, and Asta finds within her the seeds of a revolution, and she leads a revolt. I am ready. Like, there's revolution, there's a revolt, and there's a taking place in outer space. I have heard that this book would wreck and destroy, and that there are certain themes that would just like break me. So I'm bracing myself, but I cannot wait to read this. I've wanted to read this. This will be my first River Solomon, and I'm ready to experience their writing and experience just the way in which they tell stories. I am ready! The next prompt is for us to read a book that is written by a Latinx author, which Cemetery Boys already fits because Aidan Thomas is Latinx, so that fits that prompt. Then we're meant to read a short story, which I think the Ballad of Black Tom totally works because it's like 130 something pages. Yeah, 149 pages. It's 149 pages, not even up to 150 pages. Next prompt, I'm skipping the mainland European one to go straight to the prompt where we're meant to read a poem. And there are several poems in this bind up, this anthology, How to Recognize a Demon Has Become Your Friend by Linda Addison. I am ready for this. This basically does explore that, like demons in our world, demons in other realms, all sorts of demons, and how to see them and where to see them and where to find them. And it's oral, and there are short stories, and there are also poetry in this, so this can also work for my short story.
Two birds, one stone.
Next prompt, we're meant to read a Gothic novel by an author of color, and for that, yeah, Mexican Gothic by Silvia Moreno Garcia. I'm already happy that I'm already body reading this, so I'm just like, yes, I'm ready. The next prompt is to read a book by an Asian author. Jade City by Fonda Lee. Fonda Lee, who is an Asian author, would work for this prompt perfectly. Next, we are to read a horror comic, and for that I'm going with Monstrous by Marjorie Liu and Sana Takeda. Look at that, look at that. Like, it's comic is gorgeous, it's beautiful. In this, we follow a young girl who is like basically trying to survive post a cataclysmic war, and realizes that as she's trying to dig into the secrets of her past and exactly who she is and identity, she discovers that she's being haunted. And this comic is basically meant to follow her journey until she goes from being haunted to being the hunter herself, because she's going to become monstrous. I am ready for it. It's a horror comic. It fits this prompt. My body and my soul are ready.
I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready.
The next prompt, we're meant to read a book by an LGBTQ plus author, and I think that any of these three books that I'm already reading would fit in. So Edwin Thomas fits in for that, Akweke Emezi fits in for that, and of course River Solomon also fits in for LGBTQ plus author. So I am good, I am covered. Next prompt I am going with is for us to read a piece of dark fantasy, and for that I'm going with the 5th season by N.K. Jemisin, which definitely is going to be dark fantasy. Like, based off of the reactions, I know it's dark fantasy. And then the next prompt I'm going with says we have to read the book with a green cover, and Jade City, you can see it's green, 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 all the way green. There's green everywhere, so I think it fits for that. And next we're meant to read a book by a Black/African author, and I think either of these two books will work. So I'm either going to read the Half-God of Rainfall for this, or an Unkindness of Ghosts. Either way,
I'm good.
now moving on to the Nekkid Readathon, and this will run all the way from October 4th to October 10th. The live show would be on October 11th, and this is hosted by the Black Prose Book Club, which is hosted by my very good friends. So there's Brittany over at Millennium Eclectic, there's Oshile over at Oshi Reads, and there's Troy Nicole over at Bookish Wall Flare. I'm going to leave everybody, of course, I'm going to leave everybody's like handles in the description bar so you could go check it out. But I'm really excited. Nekkid Readathon is a readathon where we're going to be reading only Black romance for the duration of the readathon, and you do not have to do all the prompts. You can actually select, which is what I did, because
I don't have time.
I actually chose 2 prompts. I can maybe extend it to 3 if I have the time. So the first prompt is Versace on the floor. We're meant to read a Black romance with your favorite trope. Now, for those that are still confused, Black romance basically is romance between 2 Black characters. It's not interracial, it's different from interracial. So for you to be Black romance, it has to be 2 Black characters. And like, I have so many favorite tropes, right? But I think I'm just going to go with a book I've wanted to read for like forever, and that has one of my favorite tropes. That is Josephine by our queen, Beverly Jenkins. Like, this has the childhood nemesis turn lovers trope, which I savor and I adore it, and it combines it with a little bit of the ugly duckling to a beautiful swan trope, because see, this is a historical romance, right? And it takes place during the war, during the Civil War, and you have Josephine, who is a hairdresser and who is a businesswoman, and that is her focus, that is her priority, even though everybody in her town is all like, when are you gonna get married? And then when one of the soldiers, this kind sweet soldier, comes to town, she's like, okay, maybe I might be interested in this soldier. But then our nemesis from childhood, who has done nothing but try and always push and pick on her, comes back to town and is like, yo, is that Jojo turned fine? And I'm over here like, hold up, there's gonna be drama, there's gonna be 2 men. Josephine is over there like living her best life, like, I don't want none of y'all, I don't want to get married. And I'm like, I live for this. So yeah, definitely Josephine by Beverly Jenkins. I cannot wait to read it. The next prompt is Pony. riding my pony. Okay, so the next prompt is pony, and we're to read a black sports romance. Now, this is the second option, and for this, I actually ended up going with Scoring the Wrong Twin by Neymar Simone. Just because I love switcheroos in books, and in this is the ultimate switcheroo, because you have this girl whose twin sister is like, oh, please show up for this photo shoot for me, I beg of you, sisterhood, blah blah blah. And so she goes and she meets the football player who is all like, yo, this girl is not that she was yesterday, she's actually pretty cool, we're actually talking, we're actually chatting, except for the fact that my dude did not know that, yo, they be twins, they be identical twins, you talking to the wrong babe, bro. And it's all, he doesn't know that, and I'm like, the drama. The next prompt is Red Light Special. Find those who aren't new to this but true. Reread your favorite black romance, and this is the third prompt that I said I definitely have my eye on, which is going to be Once Ghosted, Twice Shy by Alyssa Cole. Alyssa Cole is already one of my favorite authors. The Reluctant Royal series is one of my favorite romance series, and in Once Ghosted, Twice Shy, we follow Likotsi and Fabiola. Likotsi is right-hand woman of Prince Tabioso, and when she was last in New York, she met Fabiola through this dating app, and they had great time together, great nights together, and Fabiola ghosted her, and she's been heartbroken ever since. And then she runs into Fabiola again now that she's in New York again, and Fabiola is like, yo babe, I'm sorry I broke your heart, what do you say, let's kiss, let's make out, let's have sex, let's have great sex, you know you want to have great sex with me, and let's bygones be bygones. And Likotsi is like, you got to be kidding, you must be delusional. Of course they're gonna let bygones be bygones, because it's a short novella, but it's hot, it's sexy, it's also very, very gay. I mean, look at those two black, gorgeous, gay women on the front of the cover.
She is very gorgeous to me!
And then, of course, the last prompt is to read the group book, which is The Reinvention of the Rose by Christina C. Jones. I'm not sure yet if I'll be able to read this, but if I can, I'll be very happy, because you have a lead character who leaves a secret organization and is trying to find a normal life, and in trying to find that normalcy, she falls in love. Like, we love it. I love it. I repeat, secret organization spy, like,
delicious. Finally, some good fucking food.
and that's the last of the readathons I'm participating in October, and I've already told you about the body reads I'm participating as well, etc, etc. But like, October is also seasonal period, and there are certain books that I've been keeping and hoping I could possibly get to in October. So if I have time, like these books are, if I have time, then I will get to them, starting with The Wicked Deep by Shea Ensure. This takes place in a town where the sisters had been like drowned as witches in the past, and so now their spirits keep coming back to possess 3 girls every year, and then they use these girls to drag the bodies of boys in the town to their watery grave. And you have a new boy in town, Bo Carter, and Penny who seems to see more than others around her, and it's up to her to either save Bo or save herself. So she has 2 options. It's very atmospheric. There's definitely witches, there's drowning, like, thank you. I cannot wait to read this. I hope I get to read this month. I don't know. Let's see.
Only time will tell.
The next atmospheric book I'm hoping to read this month is House of Salt and Sorrows by Erin A. Craig. This is a retelling of the 12 Dancing Princesses fairy tale. So you have this manor by the sea that is seemingly cursed. You have our lead character who's trying to figure out why it is that her sisters are dying in such bizarre ways, and if it's truly that they are cursed, and also who are sisters dancing with, what is the secret. Like, I repeat, it's the 12 Dancing Princesses with that horror Gothic feel that is to be expected, and I have been wanting to read this ever since I got this book, because I did get this book as a gift, and if I have time, I might just read this in October as well.
Fingers crossed.
And the last of the seasonal reads that I want to read this month is The Devouring Grey by Kristen Lee Eman. You have this place called the Grey, which seems to be encroaching on this town, and you have these founding families who had come together to push back the Grey, and now the story picks up with their descendants, with their offspring. One person comes back from New York, moves to the town, realizes that, oh, her mother has been keeping a very big secret from her with regards being part of the founding family. You have another boy whose family has been entrusted with powers to keep the Grey back, except for the fact that the powers seem to have skipped him, and he knows what is his duty and is smarting from the loss of that. And you have a third girl who lost her arm because the guy Justin, whose family had like been entrusted with keeping the Grey back, the one without the power. He kind of abandoned her in the Grey, and she lost her arm in the Grey, so she's sworn to vengeance. But when it seems that the Grey is expanding, all three of them would have to come together in order to fight back. I am ready for this. I heard that it's very creepy. I want to see if October is the month when I finally read it. But yeah, so those are the seasonal books, and those are all the books I want to see if I can read in October, about 25. I doubt if I'll be able to read all those books, but
A girl can dream, right?
let's see how many of them I can actually pull off in October. Let me know one book in October that you are highly anticipating, that you're looking forward to, that you hope and are like almost sure is going to be a 5-star read. Drop it down in the comments down below. If you like this video, as always, please do not forget to give it a big thumbs up. Check out my other videos. Subscribe if you want to, and if you do decide to subscribe, please click on that notification bell. So after you've hit subscribe, click on the bell so you can have all notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my new videos. I make new videos every Wednesdays and Sundays at 2 p.m. EST. Yes, that is 2 p.m. EST. And I'll see you soon. Until then, stay passionate, love books, love yourself. Bye.
Come, Pop. There you go, baby. I see you. Come and see your treat. Come, Pop. Move. Look down. Yo. One would think you're not hungry anymore. Come, Pop. Come, Pop. Come, Pop. Hey, baby. Come, Pop.